Hey everybody, Matt here with LGN Gaming. Today I have a pretty simple video I want to make, just kind of talking about Rimworld a little bit. This is a game I enjoy playing quite a bit, and I also quite interested in philosophy and politics, and one thing I started to notice when playing Rimworld and thinking about the game is how the systems are set up. So when you first start off, you have a bunch of colonists, and if they're all just set to work on whatever, they all have the same schedule, they can do anything, they all get the absolute best care, they have all the same gear, so basically they split all the work, they split all of everything, and that is surprisingly a pretty communist form of government. Now, a lot of people might be hearing this and be like, oh, communism, that's when the government does things, and that's not actually the definition of communism. If you look into it real deeply, what really never has been a communist form of government. There's been places that have claimed to be, like the Soviet Union or modern-day China, and if you look at the way workers are treated in those countries, I wouldn't say necessarily the means of production is in their hands. But it's interesting because the way things are basically set up in Rimworld from the very start is pretty communist. And then depending on how you play, you might make certain people not do certain jobs, and then you might value certain people with certain jobs more than others, and then you start straying from that original ideology. And then, of course, stealing people and taking out their organs, probably not very communist. But neither is having slaves, which is another thing I think you can do in base Rimworld. I have so many mods at this point. I don't even know if that is something you can normally do. Yeah, you can do that in ideology. Or not ideology, royalty. So that's base game, technically. But I was just starting up a new game here, and I had some things I wanted to talk about. And I thought that Rimworld having that form of government is pretty interesting, because you notice people don't get paid in the colony. They just do work to benefit the colony. Now, granted, depending on the people you have, you might not... None of them might have a good quality of life, or you can have all of them working for a single pawn to have a good quality of life. But it's interesting the way the society is set up in this game. And I just had some thoughts about it. If any of you agree or disagree with my take on the way Rimworld is set up, be free to let me know in the comments. I'm interested in a discussion on this with the very few people who actually watch me play. I hope the title is spicy enough that some people will watch it just because they hate it. Because I am American, and I can say, without a doubt, that people do not like the term communism in this country. Which I think is interesting, because a lot of people who hate communism with a passion also couldn't really tell you what it means. But then again, I would argue there is not a single country around that has been communist, and at that point, doesn't mean anything. It's interesting. It's very possible I can upset any political person with this video, because there can be tanky types who are like, oh, you don't think China and the Soviet Union are communist? And they would hate me. And then your average American conservative or right-winger would be like, communism is bad. Communism is when things are bad, and Rimworld isn't bad. Or maybe they think the world itself of Rimworld's really shitty, so it definitely is communism. But just some interesting thoughts that I've had late at night and wanted to make a video. Even put a little effort into a thumbnail, which is still very minimal effort for me. But well, very minimal effort for someone who's good at making thumbnails, but quite a bit of effort for me, because I'm not good at making thumbnails. But generally, the way I have been playing lately is trying to have a good life for most of my pawns, but I also have been relying pretty heavily on robots who do not actually have to eat or sleep, which makes things a lot easier. I do also have a new mod that I'm trying. So this playthrough I'm starting right now, I guess I can go into this a little bit as well. The playthrough I'm planning on doing right now, it is with the ideology of the Trans Socialist Collective. They are transhumanists, and I plan on reforming them to be transhumanists and collectivists. The idea being their goal is to make life better for all people within the colony and within their group. They're also transhumanists, so they're planning on using lots of robots, lots of androids, and upgrading their people. The founder of my group is actually an archotech, which is an archotech pawn, which is a type of person that this may not have came in right. They only have archotech eyes. Basically, an archotech person is supposed to have all archotech body parts, so they're supposed to have a much higher skill. So I might have done something wrong, or maybe I used prepare carefully, so maybe it didn't bring the archotech person in the way it would have if one were to spawn in the world. I believe the way you get these people is the same way you would get a T5 android, with like one crash landing and then getting surrounded by people and you have to go and rescue them. I think. I could be wrong with that. I have so many mods at this point. It's hard to keep track. But my goal with this playthrough is, if I ever get raided or anything, to actually take the people and, one, nurse them back to health and not treat them shitty, and two, either bring them into the fold or release them, depending on how it goes. I would prefer to try and bring everybody in, but colonies can also only get so big. I think 200 people is the max you can have, but we'll see how that goes. I've currently started with an Archotech, a Mr. Handy, 2 Securitrons, and 4 T1 androids. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be pretty interesting. I am not planning on making a series out of this. I'm going to play this one just to see how it goes. If anyone is interested in a series set up like this, I'd be more than happy to make some videos. That's another thing you can let me know about in the comments. I've made some Rimworld videos in the past. They have only done okay, and I'm looking to try and maybe branch out, doing a little bit of different type of content. And I've always been interested in politics and philosophy, so I figured I'd make a quick little video like this and see if I can stir up some discourse. But that's all I really want to accomplish with this video. Matt here with LGN Gaming, signing off. I'll see you guys next time.